So today I repeated a lot of the sets and kind of rep structures and weights from last Saturday's chest and shoulder session. And, this week I was a lot more successful with them. I upped the rep counts in a lot of the exercises and really kind of pushed them to help flesh them out to where I want them to be for the full extent of my programming for this, and it went super well. Bench press ended up doing 4 sets of 12 at 115 on the incline bench, and while it's not like the strongest out of everyone in the world, it's strong for me. Incline bench has always been something I've really struggled with, and just bench in general. So to be able to get like 12 reps out of it is pretty solid. The first 3 sets moved pretty quick. I gave myself a minute and a half rest between all 3 of them. And then, between the third and the fourth set, I could feel I was getting a little tired. So I gave myself 2 minutes of rest just to get a little bit of extra time to recover, just that little bit of extra energy. And it helped. It still took a little bit longer to get through that set, but I was able to push through and do it. And I was really focusing on making sure that my technique was in good shape, and I was able to really kind of do the reps effectively, just because I want to try to avoid putting excess strain on my shoulder, because historically I tend to get a lot of strain in my shoulders from doing bench press, and that just comes from inattentiveness with the technique when I'm going through and doing reps. So after this workout, how things went, next week I'll start upping the weights a little bit and just slowly working and building to get things to be a little bit heavier and heavier and heavier week by week, so I can work on developing a bit more strength in bench. This isn't going to necessarily help me develop a 1 rep max in and of itself. It's going to help definitely build strength and like a little bit more familiarity. But once I start feeling like I'm getting a pretty solid baseline in bench with this and getting a good amount of growth in chest strength and everything, I will start working on like some singles or doubles and triples and bench and on actual like flat bench. And by the time that happens, I should be in my house where I'll have a rack that I can work in, to where I won't feel uncomfortable doing bench press by myself, just because of the risk of losing the weight while I'm working out by myself. So definitely looking forward to that, and it is the date's coming sooner and sooner every single week, and it's just exciting. Going into doing the face pulls, I did 2 sets at 50 and then 2 sets at 55. I know I did 55 for the last set last week, but I just wanted to kind of start a little bit easy, lighter, just in case. It was just, by nature of how light the first 3 sets were. But the 50 pounds was just super light, and I was banking on it, me feeling a little bit more tired after my second set than I did, but I didn't. So I went ahead and just upped the weight up to 55 pounds. And those for the last 2 sets definitely did have a bit of an effect. Definitely felt a little bit more tired. Sorry, I had a yawn. Definitely felt a bit more tired, but I definitely could have done that for 4 sets of 12 rather than just doing the 50 pounds for the first 2 sets. But it's just something that you kind of have to experiment with and figure out, just going through and trying to find your working weights in these exercises. It's a bit more difficult to gauge what your weight is going to be, compared to like a 1 rep max for like squats or deadlifts or whatnot, because you really don't go for a 1 rep max face pull. That's not really the purpose of the exercise. It's like a show of strength. It's more of an exercise to develop muscle with. And I'm not going to sit here and do these for try to do like a 300-pound face pull. That's just stupid. So I'm just gonna slowly add more weight until I figure out where my stopping point is, and that's where I know I need to kind of work with. The dumbbell lateral raises, not as bad as last week, but still somewhat difficult. At least watching this, I could probably afford to keep my arms a little bit more straight than they are now. But man, this these I feel like I've been doing better than I have been ever in the past, and I was definitely feeling a good pump in my shoulders going through and doing them, especially following up after the face pulls. And it's not an exercise where you have to move a whole lot of weight to really feel something, and it really kind of gets the blood flowing into the anterior delts. And I just really kind of felt them working as I was going through and doing these. I did 3 sets at 20 pounds just because, kind of thinking on last week, I know I got through all 4 sets at 20 pounds. And I just wanted to judge how I felt like the first 3, whether or not I wanted to up the weight or not. So I put in the goal to do it just based on the assumption that I would probably get there. And if I didn't, so be it. And I would just stay at 20 pounds for one more week before I started upping the weights. But I felt pretty comfortable, and I went up to 22 and a half, and it was fairly doable. I don't necessarily know if I'd be able to do all 4 sets at 22 and a half, but I will find out in a couple weeks, I suppose. But it definitely did take some work to get through, and it felt pretty good in the end. I had a pretty wicked chest and shoulder pump by the time I was done with this whole workout session. I felt really strong after going through and doing it, and I just felt everything was just big when I was done. Especially following these dumbbell presses. I did all 4 sets today at 47 and a half, or sorry, I did 3 sets at 47 and a half and 1 set at 50 pounds. Or no, never mind. I'm sorry. I did all 4 sets at 47 and a half pounds today. They all moved fairly well. The last set was starting to get a little heavy on the last few reps, and I really had to focus and push them through. So I'm getting close to a point of failure, which is good. So we'll see how it goes with 1 set of 50 on Tuesday. I think it should be fairly doable, and it should be especially be doable because it'll be at the beginning of the workout as opposed to the 4th exercise in, especially after a set, a workout of specifically barbell pressing, which is a similar motion, just with less stabilizers involved because you're doing your hands together as opposed to individually. But even then, I was able to move this pretty well. I'm picking up each weight, fairly easily whenever I'm getting them off the ground, setting them up, and then I just go through and do the reps. And it's kind of surprising to me. I know that I've benched, on a barbell well over this. My best bench is 215 pounds, and that's like doing 107 pounds in each hand. But you have that spread out over a barbell, which both hands are holding, so it's a little bit different. This is probably among the heaviest dumbbell presses I've ever done, and it's moving really well. I really don't have too many complaints about this. I don't feel any sort of strain on my shoulder anymore. When I'm doing these, I don't feel any discomfort. I've figured out how to focus on and keep the weight pretty much in my chest when I'm doing the reps and really kind of feel that out to make sure that I'm getting the proper activation and motion with that. I'm hoping, eventually I get to a point to where I'm going to max out the weight of my dumbbells. I have enough weight to do a solid 57 and a half pounds, and I was kind of thinking it over while I was working out. There's a way I can get away with doing more weight. Putting the 25 pound on the outside of each dumbbell, and then loading the inside either to 25 pounds to get myself like 60 pounds total weight, and kind of work from there. But and that would balance correctly, and then it wouldn't be too big to be able to come against my chest or like a bit on top of my chest going through and doing it. So I might try that for fun tomorrow or something, just to see how it feels. And if it works, then so be it. That'll be the way to do it. If not, I'm going to have to kind of rethink things. Maybe go buy more plates to be able to better accommodate that. But I don't know. We'll see. Moving on from that, though, the dumbbell front raises. A bit better. I'm trying to avoid as much of the swinging with the body to get these reps up. So I'm not like cheating it as much as I was last week. I did 3 sets at 35, and the third set at 35, and then the fourth set at 40. During that third set, as soon as I finished, I felt like I had a fair amount of energy. Didn't really have to be in a position to where I had to like set the weight down and catch my breath. And I can definitely do a fourth set. But let's bump the weight up to 40 pounds and just kind of see what happens. And if I fail, then I fail, and I have somewhere that is going to serve as a benchmark for me, be able to push a little bit harder and harder to develop that weight a little bit better. And it worked out really well with the 40 pounds. It was definitely taxing, so I might, depending on how this looks, do just one set of 40 pounds next week. Or I might bump it up to 2 and just really kind of force my way through it. But I want to avoid being in a position where I'm kind of cheating my technique. But I really made sure to focus on trying to stay or trying to avoid swaying as much as possible when I was doing these reps. Did have to do some rest pauses to be able to get through them, but I'm trying to, as much as I can, to keep a nice controlled motion as I'm bringing the weight up and then coming down with it. Just because, if I'm building my shoulders going up, I'm not really reinforcing that motion on the way down, and that could lead to kind of enough disparity in the muscle groupings to where you're increasing your risk for an injury when you're handling the negative of that position. So, just kind of more things to look out for. But it's progressing nicely. I know it's a common thing I say, but I really take time to think about this and make sure that I'm setting myself for success, because I don't want to put myself in a position to where I'm training poorly and not progressing because of that.